Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of this quest for a 2000 rating on chess.com. So let's jump right in and find an opponent today. I'll be playing once again 15 minutes with 10 seconds added in order to give me enough time to explain what I'm doing as I play. And hopefully, we can learn something when I do a game review after the game. All right, so d4 is played. I'm going to play knight to f6. All right, maybe they bring their bishop out early, so maybe they're going to set up a London system. So I'll go ahead and do a fianchetto of my bishop here. That way I'll be able to castle pretty quickly. Let's see. Just go ahead and do that. All right, so now I think I can go ahead and move this forward. So we've gone into a London system. So I don't know, we'll see how that goes. The problem will be trying to figure out what to do with this bishop here. This bad bishop, which, I'm probably going to have to push this pawn to e6. Let's see. Should we go ahead and attack this bishop? But if I take that and he recaptures, he'll have a pawn on f4 and he'll have a pretty good lockdown on this e5 square. And once again, I mentioned this yesterday. I'm still trying to learn the openings that I decided to pick for this series. So, I may not be playing the best moves here. That's why I'll have to do a good game review afterwards. All right, so what do we want to do here? We're just burning too much time. So, let's see. Well, we might as well get rid of this bad bishop, I guess, by playing that. All right, so now we can just move forward. So that may be best. Just move forward here. So we'll go ahead and do that. All right. Well, let's trade off here. And so he's deciding whether to capture with the bishop. Okay, since the bishop is lined up here now, I think we'll go here, fortify that d pawn in the center, and it kind of blunts the effectiveness of the bishop. All right, so now what should we try next? We could just push forward here. And that way, if he keeps pushing his pawn, we can just push up and attack his bishop. I think we'll go ahead and do that. Or do we just push me? No, I think we'll go here. We'll just kind of push forward. If he keeps pushing his pawn, then we can just push forward there with our G pawn. All right, so what to do next here? He hasn't castled. He probably wants to castle queenside. I mean, I guess we could move our queen up here and attack his pawn on his b pawn on b2. Um, let's see here. Now I'll have to be careful if I castle kingside and he starts pushing pawns forward, trying to break it open here. If he pushes this pawn and I push forward. Okay, so he goes ahead with that. I think I will just, I don't know, counterattack him. I should have looked at his rating. He's a little bit lower than mine, so he would probably be happy for a draw here. But, if he captures me, what would be best? To capture with the pawn? All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead, capture, and now I can probably go ahead and castle on the king side and not have to worry as much about an attack if the queens are traded off. All right, so should I go ahead and push this pawn forward? Probably. But do I need to do that now? Not necessarily. So if I castle and he pushes forward, I capture. All right. Well, do we move this knight here, which is a possibility? Move the knight. If he pushes forward. All right, well, we'll just go ahead and do that because we're kind of burning time. And, now, well, I don't know if I really want to castle queenside, but I would have that option now. And I might as well just push this other pawn up. Maybe keep my king in the center. Connect my rooks. So for now, that looks to be an okay plan. All right, so he is probably thinking about just pressing forward here, trying to undouble his doubled pawns here if I capture. But let's see, what can we do? I mean, I could just move this knight up here. But, he could possibly bring his bishop down here and attack me. And then what would that knight do? Do I bring the other knight in? And he could still go there anyway, because if I capture, he's got too many pieces guarding everything. So I could just ignore him. Let's see here. All right, what would be best here? Well, we'll just do that. We'll just move up. see what he decides to do. We'll just fortify. Okay, so he does that. So maybe I'm going to do the same thing here. Or, let's see. Might as well just do the same thing. See what he does. At least keeps his bishop maybe from coming out here. But, I don't know if that would do much for him, bringing his bishop into the center here. If my king was not up here now, he can't do that, of course. But anyway, let's see. He'll probably push. I don't know. He could push forward here. If he does that, then what? I don't know. Maybe I just go ahead and push here with this H pawn. Then he could slide down here. Okay, so he moves forward here. Do I capture that? Well, he'll just recapture. So I don't know if I want to undouble his pawns. So I'm going to just go ahead and push this H pawn probably to H5. He'll either capture, my knight can move up attacking his bishop. Or he'll block that side of the board. My knight will have to reposition, which I guess I could go up here, then swing back over. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so he decides to lock things up. All right. Well, I'll bring my knight down and reposition up to here. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So we'll reposition, jump our knight up here. If he just continues pushing with his pawn, we can jump our knight up to, well, okay, so he goes ahead with that. So we'll do that. Now we can jump our knight up here, or put our knight up on D6. He's probably just, will he push this pawn here? All right. Well, if I jump up here to D6, and what does the time look like? All right, I'm a little bit behind. So if I jump up here to D6, if he pushes his pawn, all right. Okay, well, all right, let's go ahead, jump that forward. All right. Okay. Well, just capture with the pawn. And then whatever he recaptures with, we'll go ahead, jump in there. All right, so, but that knight is going to jump down in here. Then he could jump into there. So, all right, we definitely want to knock out his bishop pair. So we'll just go ahead and capture. Now, do we go ahead Now he could try an attack here. Okay, so I don't know if we want to take this pawn and open things up, and that's a weak pawn. So I don't know, we could be running into trouble here. I probably need to get off. If that knight jumps down in there. All right, let us just jump forward and blockade this pawn and attack his bishop. All right. I think we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll try and better position our knight up here, attack his bishop. All right. So my plan is to move my knight up here to d5, and that'll be a pretty good square for that knight. All right. So now there could be problems. He has the threat of a discovered attack here. All right. So if he moves that knight, what should we do? Okay. If he jumps that knight down in there, that's very dangerous. So we have to move this king off of this open file here. We may end up trapping our rook, or, oh, it'll be hard to defend this pawn here. So that's going to be pretty dangerous, him jumping in there. All right, can we afford to ignore that? If he jumps down in there, I don't know. It's not looking too good. All right. So, looks like we're kind of in trouble here. We're going to have to retreat back. I don't know, maybe try and run the king up into here. You know, if he checks us here, we go to here, the knight can jump in there. All right. It's not looking too good. All right, we're just going to get off that line. We have to do that anyway. Now the question is, will he jump his knight forward, try and attack this unprotected pawn, or will he jump his bishop forward, putting us in check and driving us further back? You know, or will he jump the knight in here, blocking the scope of my bishop? So, I don't know, there's a lot going on here. If I could capture his D pawn, then, you know, this pawn, this B2 pawn would be under attack. I could control this diagonal, jump my king up into here, get this other rook out, but in the meantime, he could just jump his knight forward, attack my pawn on b7 here. So I don't know, it's looking pretty crazy. Okay, so he decides to attack me. All right, so I have to jump further in here. The problem is his knight could jump in there, forcing me to capture with the bishop. Then his pawn comes down here to f6. It'll be doubled, but he can bring this other bishop in. I don't know, I think I'll be all right. If he brings the bishop down here to protect it, my knight could jump in here, you know, and then I could possibly get my rooks in behind. I don't know, it might be tricky. All right, well, we'll see what he does. Okay, so that is interesting. Interesting. Okay, so I should probably capture over here. Okay. Well, that's probably what I'm going to have to do, is just capture. Or do I go after his bishop immediately? No, because, well, then he could just move up. All right, let's go ahead and do this. We'll just start picking off pawns. All right. Well, how do we continue attacking? Could attack that knight. Attack the knight. But then his rook could swoop in there. So I probably have to ignore these attacks. All right. All right, do I go after these doubled pawns? He's going to pick these off. All right, well, if I go after that and he attacks, where do I retreat to? Or do I just press forward here? Try and exchange off. All right, I have to activate my other rook, I think. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just activate. All right, and I'm running low on time here, man. All right, I don't know. What are we looking at here? 5 pawns versus 4, 5 versus 5, but he's about to go ahead. We have to activate this rook. Where is a good spot for the... Okay, so he attacks us here. Should we go ahead here and attack him? But if we do that and he attacks us, we have nowhere to escape to. Nowhere to escape. So let's see. All right, if he attacks me, then what? I can't really go anywhere after that. So all right. Great. And then he's going to have this threat here, attacking my king. This is not good at all. Not good at all. Okay, okay. Do I count? Oh, I'm going to run out of time here. Are there any threats on the king that I can perform? Man, I think I'm just in trouble here. All right, we'll go there. We're running out of time. That's probably not the best move. We'll go there. Okay. Well, now we can move, but he's going to be able to attack. All right, so we're running out of time. We just have to go here. We just have to go. So we are in trouble now. So now we're just trying not to run out of time. Yeah, so I messed that up. I guess my pieces were uncoordinated and I just got in trouble there. So I'll hang in there. Hopefully I won't run out of time, but what are we looking at? I'm behind by 2 now. You know, a bishop, or yeah, bishop for a rook and a pawn. Okay. So now what can we do? What can we do? All right. Well, guess I'll go there, block that off, push this pawn up. This knight is in trouble now as well. Okay, okay. Well, I guess we have to go there to protect the pawn. And now what? Yeah, now my knight is just cut off as well. This is really looking bad. If my knight were in a better position. Okay, well, now that's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Yeah, this is looking rough. Looking rough. Guess I'll go there, see what he does. I don't know. It's looking really bad. um, I guess I just, you know, left myself get into a bad position here. And, I'll have to learn the opening because I, definitely didn't play the opening in the best way. Okay, well, let's attack the king. Try that. Because we're running out of other options. All right. It's not looking good here. All right, I gotta hurry. I guess I'll have to go there. And what now? Try and press forward. Not looking good. Not looking good. This is pretty rough. Pretty rough here. Now I could just double up and trade off my remaining rook, and then I'll just be behind in material here, and this passed pawn is not really doing much. All right, go there. All right, I should probably resign, but I don't know. I guess I could hang in there a little bit and make it difficult for him, but it shouldn't be too difficult. He should just work on doubling up his rooks, forcing me to trade off my rook. Then he would just have a whole rook ahead in the end game. And the only advantage I have is this passed pawn, but it's not going anywhere, so all right. Well, at least now I pick that off. And I can push this other pawn forward. But, this game is still pretty much lost here. Okay, well, that's interesting that he let me do that. Well, let's see here. Let's see. Guess I could start pushing forward there. All right. Now, now what? Now what? It's not looking good at all here. Not looking good at all. Guess I could try that and see what he does. All right, so if he checks me, it's not going to be good here. Not going to be good. If I move forward, he'll just attack me. All right, so not good, not good. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a rough one. I was just running out of options, so pretty bad. We'll do a game review. Those games are kind of disappointing, but you can learn more from your losses. So let's see what we should have done differently here. Man, so they played 90.6 accuracy. I still played 86.8, which wasn't too bad, but it looks like I had a blunder here at one point, and a mistake. They had 3 inaccuracies, I only had 1. So, I mean, I guess the game was a little closer. Although, I don't know, if you look at this, they were pretty much ahead the whole time. So I definitely have to learn how I could have played that opening better. So let's start the review. We'll do a quick review and then I'll jump into the analysis. All right, so what do we have here? So this is the London system, which I'll have to brush up on. All right. Okay, so this move was not good. A mistake, which jumped the game to plus 1.17 in white's favor. It looks like better would have been to reposition this other knight back to f8. Interesting. I'll have to take a look at that when I do the analysis. Well, I guess we could show the moves here. So f8 instead, and then it says they would just retreat back here. All right, well, we'll look at that in the analysis. Let's move on. So we trade down. It was good to move here. It says that's a great move, but white is still ahead, plus 1. So now this was a blunder, moving my king to g7. Okay, so best would have been knight to c8, attacking the bishop. And that would have left an escape hatch for my bishop down here. So, you know, that was definitely a problem. But I don't know, it's looking rough here. You know, white's even a little more ahead, plus 1.4. But, you know, that was the game-losing blunder here. Because now, you know, I end up going down a piece. All right. Summary. Okay, it says you had a pretty competitive game there. You played the opening well, but your opponent was on another level. It was a well fought middle game that your opponent got the better of. So for the opening, my opponent had 98.5. I had 96.3. In the middle game, my opponent had 92.9, and I only had 83.4. So, I don't know, interesting that he played at a 2050 level, and I played at 1900. But my opponent just played a little better than I did today. That one blunder, losing the piece, I shouldn't have moved my king up here and put it on line with my rook. All right, so I'll go back to the beginning. We'll look at the analysis, see what the computer says we should have done. So d4, a solid opening move. This is usually leads to more strategic games, as we saw here, because the center a lot of times ends up kind of blocked, and that's what happened in this game. So bringing this bishop out early, maybe I should have just immediately attacked this bishop here. That was a possibility. But I don't know. I'll have to look over this opening and try and figure out what will be best to play in this opening in the future, because I have a feeling I didn't play it, the best way. So we're still in book moves, g6, and then e3. So this is the idea in the London system. You get this bishop out outside of this pawn chain, so it's not blocked in as much, and it has more power to attack down here towards the queen side. And my bishop I end up putting here to try and control the center and get my king castled quickly. So now we have knight to f3, just continuing development, and I push forward here. So this tries to keep space equal, but as we see, the center remains kind of locked up here for a while. So now I don't know if this was the best move. It looks like we went out of the book move with this bishop move here. So let's take a look here. It says the best move would be to just castle here, and that would keep the game about even. It looks like bringing the other knight to here is played often, but bishop to g4, with that move, it puts it to plus about half a pawn's worth of material in white's favor. So c5 would have been better, counterattacking in the center with one of your side pawns. They could take that, but it pulls the valuable central pawn away, and then you could target that pawn. They could try and hold on to it, but that could lead to some complications. They usually don't do that, so they just play solid, fortifying the central d4 pawn. So now I move this knight up, but it says knight to h5 would have been better. So jumping my knight up here, immediately attacking his bishop. All right, so he breaks the pin on his queen. So I decided to just go ahead and capture his knight. And then he thought about this for a while. But yeah, now it said that was a good move, but it was better to just attack this bishop again. So my opponent recaptures, and it says that was the best way to capture. Now this bishop, attacks down through the center. So I play this, and it says that's the best move, to fortify the center, kind of block the scope of the bishop. And now white starts pressing forward here on the king side. So it says that's a good move, but queen to b3 immediately would have been better, which he did end up playing that. So h6, but it says I should have just castled, which is interesting because, if I would have castled, he could have just kept pushing forward here and started breaking open my king side. So I don't know. That's why I didn't want to castle there right away. But with this move, attacking my b pawn, and I block with the queen, which it says is the best move. And he just continues his attack with a pawn storm here towards my king side. So I exchange off the queens. And it said better would have been to just push forward with this a pawn. But I thought, well, I'll trade off the queens. That way, if I do castle here, it'll be a little safer because he won't have that attacking power of the queen anymore to join in a possible attack on the king side. So, next he recaptures, which was best because it opens this file. So there's a half open file for his rook, and it pulls this weak pawn on the side in towards the center. Now he has doubled pawns, but this b pawn can fortify a push by this c pawn, which I believe that's what he did later in the game. So a6 I play. It says that's an excellent move. A little better may have been to play e5 immediately. That's interesting. So e5, he captures, and then it says that I would retreat my knight, and then my bishop and knight would be able to pile up here. So interesting. That would have been a better move to immediately push forward with this pawn. And then I threaten to just gain more space. The bishop is under attack. All right, so in the game, I play this, that way I can move this rook in the future, not worry about his attacking. But now he just moves his rook here, which it says is an inaccuracy. Better would have been to retreat the bishop here to unblock this f pawn, and then the bishop can eye this diagonal here as well, because this diagonal is pretty much blocked in. But if the bishop retreats back here, it can help with a push of this pawn. It can back up in attacking the c4 square. So I push here. Now it says that is the best move instead of pushing forward here to e5. So it's interesting how, from one move, one little change in the position can change what the best moves are. There wasn't much of a change here, but now instead of moving to e5, e6 is better. So the king moves up. It says that's excellent, but now the computer would prefer, that's kind of strange. Now it wants to move the rook back to the a file. All right, so I bring my king up, and it says that is the best move, bringing your king up in the center and connecting your rooks. Now they're free to move, although that did get me in trouble later because I didn't bring my rooks out in time. So that's a very important strategic point, is to get your rooks developed before you start any kind of attacking operation. Now you can't always do that, but in general you want to develop your rooks before you decide what kind of attack you're going to do. So they attack here, and it says that that was an excellent move, but bishop to g3 was preferred. So now I push forward just to see what they do. And so I should have developed my rooks instead, probably. And it's also saying I should have moved my knight here, this f6 knight to e8, where it could probably reposition up here towards the center. So now the knight is under attack. I have to move it there anyway, which is the best move. They capture. Well, if we go back to that capture, it says that's an excellent move, but b4 would have been better. Interesting. All right, so I capture, But it says I should have captured with with the C pawn, but I was worried about giving an open file to his rooks. But this knight would be covering this square, I guess. I don't know. That looks a little on the risky side. Well, the computer usually knows best, so I should have captured towards the center, and that's usually a good idea, and I didn't do that here. So we see that gave white a little more of an advantage. So here, rook to h1 is an inaccuracy. So this almost makes the game even again. Once again, the computer wants b4. But with this move, now it says I made a mistake. That knight to f8. Okay, I see. This knight to f8 move would be good because it would allow me to jump to f8, then jump back up and attack his bishop on f4. Although, I don't know, I was thinking, well, even if the bishop would move forward, I could capture with the knight, or excuse me, with the bishop, and then it would double pawns. Anyway, moving on, it looks like knight to f8 would have been a better move because then that would have allowed me to reposition. I mean, I guess I could have even moved over here to h7 and fortify a push here with this pawn and then jumped up into here. Anyway, different options. So now the best move is played, e4. Now my opponent has these two strong central pawns, and you don't usually want to let your opponent have that. So here I just capture, and it says that was the best move, to capture with the pawn. Now another thing strategically, when you have an option to attack, or sorry, to capture. So if we go back here, I have the option to capture with the knight first or the pawn first. Usually you want to start with the weakest piece, the pawn, because it keeps your, the piece on the board that you can use for attacking. It kind of gives you more flexibility. So if you capture with the pawn first, you won't run into as many surprises. Now you're just a pawn ahead. So they recapture. Now I have the option to knock out his bishop pair, which I do, but the computer says that that is an inaccuracy. So pretty interesting. It prefers that I develop a rook. So that is probably the game losing strategy for me in this game. I neglected to develop my rooks. So, and that caused, just all kinds of problems later in the game. So after a recapture, and this move now develops his knight. So now, what did I end up with here? I had a knight that was developed, and now it's gone, and his knight is improved. I did gain, or knock out his bishop pair, so that's not so bad. And now rook at h to e8 would have been best. So once again, develop your pieces here, which I neglected to do. All right. So now we have the king moving, preparing this discovered attack on my king. So it says knight to c5 would have been better, jumping down here and threatening this pawn. So I retreat back this way, and now that's the best move. The bishop checks me and says this is an inaccuracy, that once again moving the knight forward and attacking this pawn would have been better. So now I have to retreat into the corner. The knight finally moves here to c5, and it allows me to capture. But it says knight to c8 would have been better, to immediately attack this bishop. All right, so if I would have captured that, or excuse me, attacked that bishop, white, even if I would have done that, white would still be ahead +1. So anyway, looking at what happened next. So they capture, that's the best move. And I make a blunder here. And this is the game losing blunder. So knight to c8 would have been better. So if we take a look at that, knight to c8 attacking the bishop, then the bishop would retreat. And let's see if I go back here, see if that's the best move. So here it says bishop to f4 is the best move. And now it wants knight to a7 here. Or bishop captures on b2, but it says knight to a7 is best, protecting this pawn. So if we do that, excuse me, this is what the computer also recommends. But now it's saying knight to a7 was better. So let's take a look at knight to a7. And then here it prefers moving a rook over and attacking. So that's pretty interesting. It prefers just to attack this bishop. The second best move is just rook to e2, protecting this pawn. All right, well, anyway, this would have kept the game, closer to even, but white still would have been ahead. All right. So now if we go back and we'll look at the final moves of the game. So king to g7, the game losing blunder. Now they just attack here. So what does my bishop do? It looks like capturing on b2 is best, but black is losing at this point. So I push here. It says that's a good move, but man, now it's +5 in white's favor. So after a capture, bishop takes is best. Now what? And this move was no good either. But, well, I don't know. It says it was the best move. But what I'm thinking is that in the game, now bishop to e5 is played, and I'm going to lose a rook. So I guess once I lose this rook, he'll lose his bishop, and I'll have this bishop remaining, which can be used in attacking. But, I'm just down too much material at that point. So the best move, he captures. And here it said that knight to e4 would have been better. So, that's interesting. I guess preparing to jump in here. So let's take a look at that real quick. So here, that would have been pretty dangerous. If that knight jumped up here, knight to e4, the problem is him jumping in here with check. So we could take a look at that. So knight to e4, and now it says the best move is to attack his unprotected rook. But then we have this move with check, forcing me, what can I do? I have to go to h8 or g7. So let's say I go here, but now, rook captures, why not? Just whittle some material down. Although it's saying knight to d7 would have been better. So the computer is a little bit confused on, what would have been best. So knight to d7. So if we take a look at that, well, up here now it's saying it's the second best move. So knight to d7, what would that do? It would block. It's a discovered check. And if my king moves, well, now it recommends capturing and attacking the rook here. So if I capture, he would capture. And now he's threatening a mate here. Oh, no, I can block with the bishop. So it looks like f6 is what the computer says is the best move. Let's see. f6 or rook to c1. So that's interesting. You just attack. And it also says rook to d3 check. Anyway, you get the picture. White has an attack on the king who's trapped here. So, it's looking kind of rough. And white is just up a knight here in this position. Okay, so let's look at what actually happened in the game. So if we go back, oh great, I went too far. All right. So we were in this position. We'll go back one more. Okay, so I had to move because I was in check here by the bishop. So I move, he captures, I capture. Now the knight does jump up to e4. I'm able to move my bishop out. But we have this rook move attacking here, which is best. So I protect. It says that's excellent, but rook to f8 would have been better. But at this point, I'm already losing. So I'll just go through the last few moves here. Now we're attacking two pieces. What do? Try to protect one. It says that's the best move. But now the pawn attacks me. Or he could have attacked with his rook, I guess. But I capture. He captures. So now I'm just down a whole rook here. So moving on, I try to push this pawn forward, which is the best move. But he just jumps in front. So I guess I could try and, well, I can't even do that because then he'll capture my bishop. So, and it prefers rook to b7 here. Okay, so I move here. It says that's the best move, to just activate my rook to try and get some counterplay. And now the rook lines up on this pawn here. And so I move up here with check. And the computer even preferred bishop to d2, which, I don't know, that's interesting. But then the knight would just trade off, and then this pawn would be unprotected. So anyway, moving on, I attack his knight. He protects it. Once again, it wants me to trade off my bishop for his knight. Okay, so now I'm in trouble because he's just going to jump. Well, he's got two rooks attacking, so I'm pretty much forced to just protect, and that's the best move. Now what? My king just moves back and forth, and I'm just running out of options here. So at least I was able to capture, and it preferred rook to e8 check there. All right. So rook to e8 would have been a better move. but then I would have been forced into the corner. And that. Oof. Okay. Anyway, no matter what, it's just looking bad here. So the game ended here. I just ran out of time because I didn't have many options. And it says here the game could have continued with bishop move, the knight jumping up here. The king attacks the knight. Now it wants me to just press forward here. Huh. Okay. Then you just give up your bishop and this pawn can't move. So, I don't know, I guess I could try and attack both of these pieces, although this knight is protected, so I guess the other option would be to just, well, I don't know, at this point it's just really bad. Okay, this video has gone on for quite some time, so I hope you enjoyed this day 2, and I ran into trouble, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to play a better opening scenario against the London system, and I'll have to try and figure that out. All right, thank you everybody for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to leave comments or suggestions or video requests for other chess videos you would like to see. Thank you everyone, and have a great day.